There we go. So I'm happy to see you here. I wanted to speak a little bit today before we practice. And what I wanted to talk about today is pain, uh, physical pain, but not just physical pain, emotional pain as well. And I'm choosing this topic because, I don't have to tell you, but pain's part of life, whether it's very personal pain or communal pain, even what's going on in society around the world. And so maybe you're currently in the middle of some form of pain, or whether you will be at some point in your life, which you will be. Uh, it's good for us to reflect on this and how we might work with it. Pain is a stress response. Something's off in the body or in the mind or in the community, and it triggers a kind of fight or flight response. It's calling out for your attention because it interprets pain as a threat. So it makes sense that there would be a lot of reactivity around that. And there's the pain of the body, like inflammation, injury, disease, chronic conditions, aging. And then there's also, emotional pain like depression, anxiety, grief, fear, loneliness, shame. And the various pains we experience as part of living life are not limited to just those broad categories. It's either physical pain or emotional pain. The physical and the emotional kind of interact with one another. So if you're grieving, that's a kind of emotional pain and can also have physical consequences. Or if you have, say, chronic back pain, it presents as a physical pain, but it's also expressed in maybe frustration or anger or fear or uh, hopelessness or whatever else comes up along with that. And it's important to know that mindfulness does not simply offer a strategy for eliminating pain. It can help reduce or help eliminate pain, but that's not always possible. If you suffer the death of a loved one, say, mindfulness will not take away the grief of that loss, but it will give you a way to carry the loss. And so mindfulness offers us a way to, maybe we could say, transform our relationship to the pain. So pain is inevitable in life, but the suffering around it is optional. Then the way we attend to our pain can either amplify it or soften it in a way. Jon Kabat-Zinn, who created mindfulness-based stress reduction at the UMass Medical Center in the late 1970s, he was interested in helping patients experiencing chronic pain. And so he brought this practice to patients there at UMass Medical. And he says, it is possible to learn to live with pain that does not easily diminish or go away. Kabat-Zinn never promised a cure to pain. He does not promise that you can make your pain just go away. He promises the possibility of a different relationship to the pain. And more broadly, he offers maybe a new way of living. And that's a profound shift. There is there is physical sensation and there is what the mind kind of holds on to around that. And then there's a whole thought process. Maybe like this will never end. This shouldn't be happening. My life is over. I'm broken. Whatever thoughts or expressions that we might use regarding our pain. The mind is just trying to protect us by predicting and controlling, but in doing so, it often multiplies the suffering. And mindfulness trains us to just notice the difference between the raw sensation, what we just broadly call pain, and the narrative that's layered on top of that sensation. And when we begin to be able to observe thoughts as thoughts, not facts, we loosen the grip on that kind of catastrophic kind of thinking. This process of kind of observing thoughts and understanding that were not our thoughts, a process is sometimes called decentering. It's one of the mechanisms by which mindfulness reduces distress by decentering. Decentering technically involves stepping back from one's immediate and subjective experience to view the thoughts and feelings and situations with a kind of a more detached objectivity. It's really, in a way, it's a core practice in MBSR, and also it's been used in mindfulness therapies for anxiety and depression, like mindfulness-based cognitive therapy or acceptance and commitment therapy, that helps reduce relapse and depression and anxiety. It's been shown to do that by helping individuals observe thoughts as temporary events rather than absolute truths. And in that sense, it decenters this. It's not. I have options here. The pain may still be there, but the mental commentary can be diminished or decentered. We're not trying to, Kabat-Zinn, he writes this in his book about pain. We're not trying to force anything to be other than it is. And that sentence expresses the essence of mindfulness practice. Because we're not, in mindfulness, we're not simply paying attention, observing without reacting to that which we notice. In this non-judgmental awareness, we're allowing experience to be known without adding the kind of liking or disliking to that which is present. And I say this a lot, that does not mean that we become passive. It's full engagement, but just of a different kind. So we're turning toward pain, even if we do so slightly, and into also interrupting the cycle around it, the protesting, the avoiding, the bracing against it. I don't want to bore you too much, but I like to also quote some of the research around this, because this is not just a theoretical kind of thing. Modern neuroscience has made something very clear, that pain is not simply a signal from damaged tissue. There's more to it. It's complex. It's constructed experience shaped by the sensation. There's emotions involved, memory, attention, expectations. And in some of the research, it shows that in trained meditators, researchers were able to observe a decreased activity in areas associated with this kind of judgmental part, and increased engagement of regions involved in more of kind of cognitive control and emotional regulation. So we can dampen down our reaction. Research published in the Journal of Neuroscience showed that mindfulness meditation reduced pain intensity and pain unpleasantness. Specifically, mindfulness meditation induces pain relief by activating higher order brain regions beyond that simple kind of knee jerk reaction. One of I think, the most powerful insights from mindfulness is that awareness itself is not in pain. We can notice the sensation rather than a story about the sensation. So just notice tightness in the chest, heat in the face, pressure behind the eyes, the sensation itself. We can observe that associated without the kind of the tag on of all the thoughts and reactions to that. Pain produces a narrow focus on what's hurting. And that makes sense that it would. Our attention should go to that if it's a problem. But that's sometimes where it stays for us. And awareness opens up the field to a broader experience. So when you close your eyes and feel discomfort in your knee, say, notice the sensation is localized, but awareness contains the whole body too, the room and the sounds and the breath. This widening does not deny the pain, but it puts it in a broader context. Kabat-Zinn often reminds practitioners that our true nature is awareness itself, intact, even when the body suffers. That perspective can be transformative, especially for those who have begun to kind of equate identity with the pain or the illness. You're not your diagnosis, you're not your grief, you're not your pain. Pain is part of being human, but suffering is shaped by how we meet that pain. And mindfulness does not promise a pain-free life. It offers something bigger, something steadier, a life in which pain does not own you. And that's not a small thing. So pain may be unavoidable at times, but suffering is always optional. So let's practice together. We'll sit for a few minutes with the simple awareness of the breath, or sit or lie down if you're in a place where that's more comfortable for you, or you might be standing, whatever posture you choose that. And we'll simply notice the breath, and then I'll give a few prompts that really is taken from a meditation by Jon Kabat-Zinn from his book, Mindfulness Meditation for Pain Relief. I recommend that highly for people who are struggling with pain. But let's start by just settling in to whatever posture we are taking in this particular time. And noticing the breath in this moment, breath by breath, moment by moment, as an anchor point, a home base to return the mind whenever it goes off. And no matter what it's going off to. And as you're tuning into your breathing, you're also settling into this moment, this present moment. And maybe also acknowledging that you can trust your own kind of creativity here in your ability to stay with this moment, even if there's intense pain or slight discomfort. And seeing if any of that presents, if that you might be able to simply ride on the waves of your breathing with full awareness. And even if you can only do that for one or two or three breath cycles. And as you sit here or lie here or stand here, as you settle in, allowing your awareness to expand beyond the breath and the body, to feature any thoughts and emotions you may be experiencing, and placing them in a sense center stage in the field of awareness now. What's running through the mind? What thoughts? What emotions? And perhaps you've already experienced that thoughts and emotions have kind of a life of their own, and that they are simply fleeting events appearing and disappearing in the mind. The thought, I can't take this pain anymore, is just an event in the mind. Thoughts and emotions arise, linger perhaps for a moment, and then quickly pass away. But those very thoughts and emotions sometimes have so much power and energy associated with them that they can easily carry us away from attending to the breath in this moment. Thoughts and emotions kind of have a life of their own. They're simply fleeting events appearing and disappearing in the mind. They arise, they linger, perhaps for a moment, or maybe it seems even longer, and then they just pass away on their own. So as you sit here or stand here or lie here, see if you can just be in touch with the breath and the body while also being aware of any thoughts and emotions that might arise. And in this meditation, as we're bringing awareness to any thoughts or emotions that might arise, since we've been talking about pain, let's especially notice sensations you're experiencing in any given moment in the body that we might qualify as pain. And understanding the fact that the word pain is a thought, it's a construct. I'm not saying you're not feeling certain sensations, emotional or physical, but what we then assign to that is a thought. So, for this reason, it can be helpful to notice if you're having a lot of thoughts about the intense discomfort or even the slight discomfort you may be feeling in your body, and how often you automatically think of it as pain. You might even experiment with not calling it pain when it comes up, at least some of the time, since, the word pain is itself a thought. It's not the experience itself. So maybe you can kind of investigate for yourself, take a look and see whether when you do think of what you're experiencing as pain as opposed to, say, intense sensation, see if does that increase the intensity of sensation even more, and perhaps the suffering as well. Could even experiment with not calling it pain right now, since that is just a thought rather than the sensory experience itself. So you could instead notice burning or tense pain or dull pain, dull sensation. And just look into how your mind sort of works around these when a sensation occurs. Take a little peek every now and again and see whether it's true for you that you start assigning things to that sensation. Sometimes it's not just a label either, it's a whole statement. This is killing me, or I can't stand this any longer, or how long will this go on, or my whole life is a mess, or I'll never be free from pain. All thoughts. And we all have these kinds of thoughts at times. They're like storms in the mind, turbulence. It's totally understandable that we have them, but it's also helpful to notice that they're just thoughts, often very reactive thoughts, and not necessarily true either, although we might think they are. And certainly none of the thoughts are the pain itself. I'm saying all this because just bringing awareness to your thoughts and emotions about the pain may, over time, have a very dramatic effect in reducing the degree of suffering that you're experiencing. Just bringing awareness to your thoughts and emotions about the pain may, over time, have this really dramatic effect. We see this, in the research that when we start really getting caught up in thoughts around what's happening, around the sensations, that it can actually make things worse, intensifying the experience of suffering. And then also by recognizing them as thoughts and then letting them be without either pushing them away or pursuing them, and you're putting out the kind of Kabat-Zinn calls the welcome mat for the sensations themselves, because they're here already anyway. So why not even try just accepting them for now, realizing that the part of you that is aware of the sensations, thoughts, and emotions is not itself in pain or ruled by these thoughts or feelings. Here's a quote by Khalil Gibran from his famous work, The Prophet. It's a quote from a section in there called Of Pain, where Gibran encourages acceptance of emotional hardships and comparing them to like the natural cycle of seasons. In it, it says, your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. Even as the stone of the fruit must break, that its heart may stand in the sun, so must you know pain. And could you keep your heart in wonder at the daily miracles of your life, your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy. And you would accept the seasons of your heart, even as you have always accepted the seasons that pass over your fields, and you watch with serenity through the winters of your grief.